Your meth is good, Jesse. As good as mine. Chili P, bitch! Look, I can get away with saying meth, but you use the B word and now I gotta yell the dollar bill sign.
But it's only one B word out of the whole video. Can't be that bad for kids.
Do you think YouTube is gonna think about that?
Dogs. I was talking to a dog.
Do you think YouTube's gonna go, oh, okay?
Well, now that I've explained it and it's here for someone to look at and understand, if they send a manual reviewer, they'll understand me.
I just want you to know that after we edit this video, and if we get a yellow dollar bill sign, I'm blaming you.
That sounds fair.
All right. We're gonna watch from this channel that I've seen a lot on my own time called Screen Crush. If you guys like great breakdowns, Easter egg videos, and certain video essays, you guys will love Screen Crush. There's a link in the description box for this channel, link in the pinned comment. We're gonna watch today Breaking Bad, the most crucial episode. I've been on a Better Call Saul high as of late, so I thought this would be a great time specifically for me to watch. Let's do this.
What are you asking me to come work for you at Grayman?
Why not? You fit right in. You're brilliant. You got a ton of experience.
Pity offer.
Breaking Bad is famously a show about
Change.
But when exactly did that change take place? When did Walter White go from this
Veggie bacon. We're watching our cholesterol.
to this?
I am the one who knocks.
The key episode of the series, the crux of the entire show, is the 5th episode of Season 1, Gray Matter. In the previous episode, Walt refuses Jesse's money and swears off cooking meth because he just killed a guy.
Get the hell off my property.
But then, 2 episodes later, he invents a new identity for himself.
Heisenberg.
The Gray Matter shows Walt's transition between these 2 states. Without this episode, the show could have fallen apart. So how did this happen? Well, there's 3 sequences in this episode centering on Walt's refusal to accept chemotherapy. I call them the offer, the options, and the choice. These 3 sequences carefully show Walt's decision-making process and provide a roadmap to his soul. The offer happens at Elliott Schwartz's birthday party, and though they never say it specifically, I assume this is Elliott's 50th birthday, given that everyone is making such a fuss and Walt just turned 50. But Elliott's party is much more extravagant than Walt's.
They did go to college
He's being treated
together.
as a guest of honor,
So
the center of
sorry.
attention while he's opening his presents.
Just any strap. That's one of Clapton's.
Oh, I forgot
While
that.
Walt was sidelined at his own party.
Looks like Keith Richards with a glass of warm milk.
The episode even opens with Walt insulting his own birthday gift to Elliott.
Stupid gift.
No, it isn't.
With sentimental Walt.
Thinking.
Immediately, he's telegraphing that he feels inferior to Elliott and his money. This difference in status is evident by the wardrobe worn by the party guests.
Jesus. I guess we didn't get the beige memo.
They wear beige, a color that symbolizes normalcy in Breaking Bad. Elliott is wearing beige over a white shirt, symbolizing his inner purity and goodness. But Walt and Skyler are overdressed in gaudy blue.
I look like I'm wearing a prom dress from 1985.
Honey, you look fine.
They're wearing what a poor person might think rich people would wear to a pool party. It's interesting to rewatch this episode knowing more about Walt's past.
And I sold my share to my 2 partners. Care to guess what that company is worth now? 2.16 billion as of last Friday.
Poor guy.
Every week.
So you can only imagine what must be going through his head as he browses through their library. When he's standing here, he's framed to look small and out of place. Walt looks at a Scientific American cover story about Elliott, echoing this scene in the pilot. As Walt exercises
This is a fantastic
in the
analysis
room,
already,
he
dude.
Terrific, yeah.
attention to the research that won a Nobel Prize. It might as well have been a participation certificate or an award for attendance. So in this episode, as Walt looks at this magazine cover, we now know he believes that all of this should be his.
It's my hard work, my research, and you and Elliott made millions off it.
The party guests talk about his glory days, extolling him like a legend.
Back at Caltech, he was just a master of crystallography.
But now, he can't even admit that he's a mere high school teacher.
I gravitated toward education.
Ah, what university?
After Walt's gift of ramen noodles touches Elliott, the 2 reconnect.
That was the same guy who always smelled like chocolate milk. It was.
Then the unexpected happens. Elliott, the billionaire, asks for Walt's help.
You may be exactly what we need.
By doing this, Elliott places himself in a lower status position. Now, Walt has a glimmer of hope. Maybe now his genius will be recognized. He can return to the lab, reclaim a small piece of what should have been his. Maybe now it can be his face on a
Get his woman back.
Scientific American.
Yeah.
But then, the most crucial moment, the most crucial line in Breaking Bad.
We have excellent health insurance.
God, look how how defeated Walt is as he realizes Elliott didn't actually need his help. He just pitied him. A moment ago, they were two men making a deal, and now Walt is once again low status. Elliott is the real man who provides for his family. Walt is a loser who needs to beg for help just to survive. Rather than face his insecurities in a mature way, Walt externalizes his feelings.
Some face-saving bull.
And then, in a moment of meta-foreshadowing, his wounded male ego focuses his rage onto Skylar.
I don't like the way you talk about my private affairs.
Just like many fans of Walter White did in real-life social media. Skylar, going over his head to ask for help, makes him feel like less of a man, like a boy whose mom is helping him try on pants. She made him feel like he doesn't have a say in his own life. And, as we'll see in the next sequence, that's the last thing that Walt wants. In the second sequence, which I call the options, it centers on the intervention Skylar holds for Walt. The family's goal is to beg him to accept treatment. Not just to accept Gretchen and Elliott's money, but to accept any treatment at all. And this is one of the best intervention scenes in TV history, right up there with The Sopranos.
Right, my own mother. You fucking whore.
Ooh.
First, the family appeals to Walt. Skylar is emotional and concise.
Now that Elliott is more than willing to pitch in, Walt, I understand that it's hard for you to accept help. Maybe it's the way you were raised.
Hank gets lost in a tangent.
It's bottom of the ninth. Basically loaded. You're up.
Captain
But
on
Walt
L4.
Jr.'s remarks probably cut the deepest.
You're a pussy.
No father wants his son to question his courage or call him out for not being a man. But then, Marie turns the scene on its head by introducing another point of view.
I think you should do whatever you want to do.
And then she sways Hank.
What? Maybe Walt wants to die like a man, all right?
This adds humor to the scene, but it also shows that Walt's decision isn't cut and dry. There is a nobility in choosing how you want to die. Then Walt takes command and carefully lays out his feelings in a brilliant 4-minute monologue. It boils down to this.
What I want, what I need, is a choice.
And this is also where he spells out his motivation for the entire show.
My entire life. It just seems I never, had a real say about any of it.
And he also tells us his greatest fear.
Me, some dead man, some artificially alive, and that's how you would remember me. That's the worst part.
Walt doesn't want to be used by other people. He doesn't want to be a thing. He wants to be alive. Remember his confession from the final episode of the show?
I did it for me. I liked it. I was good at it. I was alive.
That brings us to the third section, the choice. Walt wakes up in bed alone. He sees Skylar isn't there, and he buries his face in her pillow, smelling her hair. He smells her beauty product and realizes how much he's going to miss her, and that he wants to be with his family as long as possible. The pile of books at the bedside catches his eye. The baby books have dropped to the bottom of the stack in favor of a new book about treating cancer by eating healthy food. That's when he realizes that, no matter what, Skylar won't stop fighting for his life. This quiet moment with household objects is actually foreshadowed by Skylar's talking pillow at the intervention that reads, "Find joy in the little things." So, in a roundabout way, the talking pillow spoke to Walt. Walter is an analytical man. He always weighs every option carefully before making a decision. In this short moment, he's thinking through every possible outcome for himself and his family. He realizes that Skylar will never support his decision. She will resent him for the rest of his life. So will his son. They want him to fight. But he won't take money from Gretchen and Elliott. He resents them for building an empire on his research.
My hard work, my research, and you and Elliott make millions off it.
He would have to forgive them for being successful if they used that success to save his life. And his pride just can't let him do that. He can't take their charity because that money rightfully belongs to him. So, if he accepts treatment, there's only one way he can pay for it. By cooking meth. And this is the exact moment he makes the choice. At this point, Walt is no longer innocent. He's already killed a man. But here's where he decides that he's okay with the consequences. He decides that, no matter what, I will have a choice. If I can't decide how I die, I'll decide how I survive.
Or the next episode starts with flashing event.
And this reveals the double meaning of the episode's title, Gray Matter. It's the name of Walt and Elliott's company, but it's also the name given to parts of our neurological system. All our choices happen here in the gray matter between our ears. Walt makes a choice. Walt decides what kind of man he wants to be.
I'll do the treatment.
Later, in his treatment, he's wrapped in plastic like the artificial thing he dreaded becoming. But he can live with that now because secretly he's made a different choice to become a criminal and to be truly alive. The episode ends with him visiting Jesse and uttering the 4 words that will condemn him forever.
Want to cook?
The reason this episode is so vital is that Walt was offered an out, but he turned it down. This reveals his original sin, pride.
Say my name.
It turns out that Walt is not actually a good man. He's an evil person hiding inside a good man's skin. Pretend for a second that Walt was never offered this option, that every decision he made really was to protect his family and not his ego. Eventually, when Gus threatened his children, he would have done the rational thing and gone to the police. But Walter White, full of pride, could never admit defeat. He had to win.
What happened?
You won, dude.
I won.
He digs deeper into the criminal underworld. It's not enough for him to work for Gus, he has to become Gus.
I'm in the Empire business.
After this episode, Walt would never again make a pros and cons list before killing a man. From now on, there would be no monstrosity because he gives himself permission to become a monster. At this exact moment, Heisenberg was born.
Goddamn right.
All right, guys, what did you think about the video? Let me know in the comments below.
It's really hard to argue against you, dude. It's really hard to argue against you.
Well done, Ryan.
What I love with that, this is focusing on the birth of Heisenberg. It's not saying like this is when he completely shifted. It's that when he started to accept the beginnings of this new identity he can inhabit. Like that final point that he was breaking down. I'm paraphrasing here, but something about an evil man was always in there and that he's living in the shell of a good human being. Because that's a different type of perspective to take with this show. The way how a lot of people have viewed it was he was a good guy and then bad luck came his way, got diagnosed with cancer, and then through a series of unfortunate choices, he eventually went down this path and his ego started to grow, started to find purpose, yada, yada, yada. And I think this video does a great job of doing, specifically Ryan's essay here, is showcasing that the seed of Heisenberg was already in there before the show even started, before the pilot. It just needed some watering on the plant, you know, in order for it to fully come out and grow, because all that history is already ingrained in the Walter White character biography, and that's now coming out because of this life-changing moment with being diagnosed and this meth opportunity. So I love how he breaks down that's the case. This is the beginning step, because there's not one episode where Walter White becomes Heisenberg. I don't think you can say that, because you're watching him descend and simultaneously arc into the embodiment of the king of the empire, Heisenberg, the one who comes knocking, because he doesn't just switch, he doesn't slingshot effect and crack. It's a slow morphing process for the guy, but it was always in him. And I didn't quite pick up on that element until I rewatched the show the second time the whole way through.
Yeah, because Walt, I think, makes a nice negative image to what Heisenberg is. He's all the recessive qualities. He's all the weaker qualities kind of come to the forefront. And yeah, I think that's a really nice way to put that the moment in which Heisenberg is born is simply the moment that Walt decides that he is going to carve his own way and do some illegal stuff.
Yeah.
And I like the way he broke that down in terms of the offer, the options, the choice. It kind of made me think of just script structure, in the sense that there's some kind of theme at the beginning, a debate around the theme, then an ultimate decision to embark upon something related to that. And in the long form of a show, you know, that happens over maybe the course of a few episodes or something like that. So at first, when he was like, the most significant episode is season 1, episode 5, I was like, huh. And then pretty soon I was like, oh wow, this makes a lot of sense, because yeah, it really shows the convergence of circumstances that lead to that snap decision of, all right, I'm going to accept this path now. And the beautiful thing is Heisenberg really is just an amalgam of points of no return consistently crossed.
Yeah.
You know, but that's the seed that it all grows out of.
Yeah, and I also really love how Ryan really broke down visual storytelling here, showcasing that a lot of it is so good at the visual storytelling that sometimes you chalk up certain moments in movies or television to open to interpretation. When you really look at it, especially with this breakdown, it's pretty crisp cut clear what's going on, especially in the section of the choice. When he wakes up out of the bed, smelling the scent of his wife, he's looking at the books, and then going through that moment where he's sitting at the edge of the bed and the look that he's giving you, just watching the performance, him making the choice right there, no dialogue at all. and it's not open to interpretation. It's right there.
Yeah.
It's clear, and that's just great. Like the work of Peter Gould and Vince Gilligan, who also do Better Call Saul, and even with the staircase moment, that framing device of everything is so much larger, and he's this tiny person. And he could have had all this. He could have amounted to all this. And the show does slowly start, deciphering and picking apart this storyline, and then follows it all the way through to the last episode, which I think is pretty neat. And this episode does do the thing that the pilot, I think, also really succeeded in, which is getting you to sympathize for Walter. That way you can kind of get on board for the guy as he goes through this journey. As I love how you got the show Breaking Bad, and you got Better Call Saul, which are two different journeys. You got Breaking Bad as a guy who was leading a good lifestyle, wife, child, teacher at school, who starts going down a real evil path. And then you got Better Call Saul, which is Jimmy McGill, who has a history of doing bad things and is trying to do the right thing, but it just doesn't pan out for him, and he keeps finding himself drawn to the bad things in life. If you guys haven't seen Better Call Saul, you really should. It's an amazing show.
I really liked that he also even bothered to dive into the costuming and stuff like that. Like when they get to the party, I didn't even fully, like, there are characters throughout the show that I picked up on, like, okay, Skylar has these colors typically, or Marie has lots of purples and stuff, but I didn't even realize that, everyone at the party is dressed in beige, which is such a normal color, just beige and white. And even that idea that Elliott, he's got the white shirt on the inside to symbolize, inner purity. And I do like that, they bothered to do that too, because while that's a character that we, with Walt, kind of slag off, I do appreciate that in the costuming and in those kind of details even as well, there are hints to everything.
Right, and also breaking down that final line is in terms of encompassing
how many words it was.
Yeah, in terms of encompassing the birth of Walter White into Heisenberg, I do think is a great arc, because this is the 5th episode, he said, because I remember that in the first episode it goes wrong in the camper, and then he's kind of in this like push-pull situation where he doesn't really know what to do, even though he has the opportunity and he could succeed in it. And Jesse's trying to pull him in and saying, we could do a great job here, we can make a lot of money. So to end it with that line of wanna cook. It's either you want to cook as the 4 words or wanna cook as 2 words. To me, I heard it sounded like wanna cook.
It could be a silent Y.
Doesn't matter. I'm sure the comment boxes are filled with people harping on that moment. Regardless, the context and what that line is, embracing like, let's do this, is just a chilling moment. And as a viewer for this show, it's weird. It's badass. It's cool. Like, it's cool when in real life it's really not.
It's cool,
but in the show it's cool.
Underdog, but also never ever in real life.
But Ryan at Screen Crush, he does an amazing job, and I really think he'll be like at 1 million subs before the end of the year. I don't know if it's just him who does all this by himself, but if you guys haven't discovered his channel yet, please go over. I guarantee you're gonna love a lot of what you guys see, because I've watched plenty of his Easter egg videos on my own time. He's always so much fun to watch, and he does other videos than just that too. All right, guys, well, subscribe to Screen Crush, subscribe to The Real Rejects, click that notification bell, and hey, let's end this with a TJ, otherwise known as Totally Jumbled. Wrote you a poem, buddy. Don't worry. I include your family too, so they don't feel left out. It's always a good day to shout out my man TJ. Heavy procrastination on divulging information on the meaning of his abbreviation. Let's break down the name like a squamous. First name is pronounced Thomas. Till death do you part was his promise. Fed into his hypothalamus when he charged in the bedroom like a rhinoceros. His wife rode him like a noble steed. Shot it straight up and planted his little seed. Now they got a baby that Thomas never feeds. To add a little clarity, the J stands for Jeremy. Treats his wife orally while their baby rests on the TV watching the streets of Sesame. If this poem sounds like my writing has stumbled, that's what happens when you try to write a bat totally jumbled. He's got a hot ass wife named Alicia. Once I marry your daughter, our child will call her their abuelita. I hope Skylin is still smiling. Give her my phone number so I can start dialing. Once she's 5, I'm gonna get her high. We'll call that night getting sky high. Alicia says, Greg, you're too old and creepy. For God's sakes, Skylin's still a baby. Yeah, whatever. I don't care.